calling the DABC meeting to order. And today is Thursday, April 15th, and we're doing business via Zoom. Start with taking attendance. Let's see, Matt Winch. I got you, Matt. Or Russell Better.
Yep, here.
Councillor Ray. Brad Post. Absent this evening. Jay Norris.
Present.
Hi, Jay. Paul Stevens.
Right here.
Abigail Fuller.
Here.
Okay. And Chair Figdor.
Here.
Hello. Co-chair Mark Dion.
Here.
Okay, myself, I think I'm here. And we have staff on the call as well. Steve Stilfen. Our facilities, God, I don't even know the titles anymore. Doug Sherwood, is he with us this evening, Steve? No.
Oh, he's not available tonight.
Okay, great. And Javier Botana, which is our superintendent.
Hello.
Mark Lee from Harriman. Lisa Sawin from Harriman. And Emily Waugh from Harriman. Did I forget anybody? Okay. So with that, we have the meeting minutes first from our meeting on February 18th. Do I have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll motion to approve.
Okay. Jay, seconded by Board Member Aura Russell. Are there any corrections on the meeting minutes? Okay. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes from February 18th, please indicate. Okay. It's unanimous with all those present. I'm going to assume that Emily and Matt, you have you're okay. And with that, I'm going to turn things over.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn things over to the superintendent or Mark Lee.
You can turn it over to Mark.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
And I don't know if someone can allow me to share screen. Very good. Thank you very much. All right. So hopefully you can all see the title screen for tonight. We have a fairly brief agenda tonight. We have, it's pretty much bringing everyone up to speed with where we are on the bidding of the 3 schools. And so that's kind of the phase we're in now. There's one other matter of substance that's kind of a carryover, a follow-up to the one item at Reiche School. And so we'll address that as well. But so see if so the first item we've already addressed, the welcome and the approval of the minutes. The next 3 items are simply just the updates on where, excuse me, where we are with the bids on each of these. So the Longfellow update, where we are. We had a pre-bid walkthrough with contractors on March 24th. And so it's, I think, approximately 3 weeks ago. We completed the contract documents, which is both the drawings and specifications that Harriman completes, as well as the information to bidders that the city puts in, the contractual requirements and procurement policies that the city requires. And so that component was added onto those to the front end of the documents that were sent out. And then we have been receiving questions from contractors and responding to those questions through addenda. And so those have been going on throughout the bidding process. We have, based on the questions that we're getting, we have 3 contractors that are actively asking questions. So we think that's really who we have that's going to be submitting prices. At one point in the process, there was an extension of the bid, and that was there's a question on the fair wages with the city procurement and getting that aspect worked out with the purchasing department and language around that. And then through that, the bid date is extended to the 22nd. So originally it was going to be scheduled today. The the bid due date. And so now it's a week from today. And so a week from now, Thursday afternoon, we'll open the bids for the Longfellow project. And at that point, we'll have either one of two directions. One direction is that we would be below the budgeted amount for the Longfellow project. And if that's the case, then our intention is to prepare the contract for signing by both parties, by the owner and by the contractor. And that would be an aspect that we would go and ask the school board to approve entering into that contract on the May 4th meeting. So that's one direction if our bids come in below our budgeted amount. If the bids are over, as we had experienced with the Lyseth project, then we would go into a value engineering process, and that would take us in a little bit different direction. We would evaluate options for reducing the cost, and one direction we have, or kind of the outline that we have identified for doing that, would be to get together with the BLAC, which would be later that evening, just to alert them to what the bids are, and then to workshop the value engineering on the May 4th with the DABC, with this group, and with the school board. And so either on the 4th, we would be meeting to ask for permission to go into the contract with the contractor, or we would be workshopping value engineering jointly with the school board. So and so I'll pause for a minute there if there are any questions before we move on.
Big Door has a question.
Thank you so much. I was wondering, Mark, if you can say more about the issue around fair contracting that came up, and if and how it's been resolved.
Sure, absolutely. So as everyone, I think, was aware that with the vote in November, there was fair wage requirements put in place to the city procurement policy. In addition to that, there was also the apprenticeship aspect of the Green New Deal, and there was the OSHA training. Those are the three areas that impacted contractors. And so that language honestly hadn't been worked through the city procurement or purchasing department. And so they had to catch up with those requirements and incorporate them into the contract language. And so while at Lyseth, we always had the provisions in the contract for the fair wage, the other pieces enacted through the Green New Deal, those had to be incorporated into the contract.
And that's all done at this point?
That's done at this point.
Okay, thank you so much.
Paul Stevens?
Mark, I'm curious as to who the three active contractors are, if you can say.
Yeah, we can. I'll see if Great Falls, Benchmark, and I'm trying to think the third one. Lisa, do you remember the third one here?
Hardy Pond.
Hardy Pond, there we go. Thank you, Javier. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Seeing none.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the last bullet item on the slide is that there's also been, as we've worked through the bidding process, there's been some site logistics coordinating with Steve and his group, as well as the administration at Longfellow. And that largely has been around contractor access in the rear of the building, as well as locations for the portables on the parking lot. And that really has been kind of also jointly working with the city planning department and the requirements for those portable locations, and ensuring that we have safety in mind for students moving back and forth to those portables. So that's been one aspect as well. But we've also been kind of meeting in our weekly meetings on Friday mornings with Steve and his group on those issues. So I'll pause for a second. I think Jay may have a question.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Thanks, Mark. Just I guess a question for Superintendent Botana or Sarah. Will this committee, I don't remember how we did it last time, will this committee make will Harriman make their choice and then we make that recommendation to the Board of Education, or is the decision on the engineering firms or on the construction firms, is that a decision that Harriman makes?
It's a low bid, Jay.
It's the low bid across the board, so
there's no decision making that goes into that.
So none at all. I guess that was the better question. There was no decision making in that at all. Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay.
But just to sort of reiterate what I think Mark said, if there is a need to do value engineering, so reduce aspects of the scope in order to be able to meet the contract amounts, then the DABC will workshop that alongside with the school board. The school board ultimately will ratify the what is actually taken out of the scope and things along those lines. But in order to expedite that process, we would plan to do that jointly.
So, yeah, absolutely. And the only other thing I would just follow up with, Jay, that what we had done is there was a pre-qualification process with the contractors. And so the assumption is that they are all qualified to undertake the work. And that's why, again, looking at the lowest bid, we've already typically it's the lowest qualified bid. In this case, the contractors are all qualified. So it's really looking at the lowest bid. All right. So turning now to Reiche. So the one item that was still, I think, from our last meeting with this group, with the DABC, was the issue of the trellis at the front of Reiche. And that went back to the BLAC. And there was a good, lively conversation regarding the merits of it. We had, as was requested from this group, we had gone back to look at the value of what that trellis was. It was a steel structure with the foundations, and the cost of it was estimated to be $125,000 to $150,000. And there was conversations, both think some feeling like it was appropriate, and others feeling like we probably could use that money for other aspects, other alternates. But what was ultimately the consensus of the BLAC was to carry that item as an alternate as well. So that also is being priced as a separate cost item outside of the base bid of the project by contractors for the Reiche. So that was the consensus of the BLAC, the Reiche BLAC. And I'll pause for a moment if there are any questions on that.
I think, Mark, we can just keep going along, and then if people have questions as we go, I'll just watch for hands.
Okay, very good. I'll kind of look for you, Sarah, then.
Thank you.
So the Reiche project, right now, our documents have been sent to the city purchasing department, so they've received them. We sent them back a couple weeks ago here at the end of March, and right now they have they're waiting to get through some of the bidding issues with Longfellow, and we're going to work with them to determine how quickly we can get the Reiche School project out to advertisement for contractors. So our dates are adjusting because of working through the city on establishing the timing of the advertisement and the walkthrough and the bid with them. So we're working to get that out as to the contractors as fast as we can. In addition to that part of it, we have been working on the planning board. So Reiche was the last one in the planning board process. We've actually been working through with Presumpscot and with Longfellow, but Reiche is the last one, even though we're bidding it second. But the conditional use meeting is scheduled now. The workshop is scheduled for April 27th. And so that's great news. And so that's our first opportunity to review the project with the planning board. Part of it also, because it sits within a historic district, we also have a historic application that also has been submitted. And so that's a part of that permitting process. We don't yet know when the pre-bid meeting will be. and so that again is part of working with the city purchasing department. And typically what we've been trying to do is hold to a 4-week bidding period, doing the walkthrough about 2 weeks after we advertise, and then bid opening 2 weeks after the bid walkthrough. So those are, again, to be determined. We're working on getting those dates established. Emily? Yep.
Hand is up.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about the timing, given that we're trying to get all 3 projects bid, and is the city if the city is only able to move through one process at once, how far back that might set us? And I mean, the real, I don't need to tell you this, but the urgency is having the full summer to get the project started. If we lose the summer, that is a huge setback. So just wondering, what more you can say to that, and if there's anything we can do to actually.
We have a question from Chair Figdor.
So Emily?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was talking. I don't know if that.
Yep, I heard all that.
Yeah,
Emily.
For some reason, I don't think Sarah did, but I think I did. We're working through that, and have thought through some options, and we'll be following up with the city on that to get it going.
Sorry about that. I lost my Spectrum communication channel here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, Sarah, it was Emily expressed sort of how we're working to establish or get the project moved along with the city, and so we're trying to work the best we can to sort of motivate them to get it out to advertisement as fast as we can.
Great, thank you very much.
Sorry, could I follow up on that?
Sure.
Is there anything that our colleagues who are city councilors who are on this committee with us can do to help?
We just met with co-chairs and came up with some alternatives that we're going to be discussing with the city. And so Councilor Dion was a part of that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mark. Go ahead.
Excellent. All right, and now I think Ms. Sawan will take it from here.
Awesome. Good evening, everyone. I'll take you through the Presumpscot update and sort of where we're going from here. So Presumpscot, the board met on April 6th and voted for the Presumpscot school to go to bid. There were no questions or concerns raised at that meeting. So we had the approval to move forward to bidding. The 75% documents were sent out to the collective team of the facilities department with Steve and Doug, as well as CHA, the owner's representative, and the commissioning agent. So those are under review, and expect we'll get comments back shortly and incorporate those into the bid documents. And we are targeting the completion of those bid documents on April 29th. And so next steps, the bid schedule. So Longfellow bids will be back. Mark already went over sort of the advertisement date and the walkthrough, and then bids will be back on April 22nd. And it's actually at 3:30 p.m. That they will open the bids. And I believe we'll have an update for everyone once those are opened. And then as we've talked, the Reiche schedule and the Presumpscot schedule are really dependent on the feedback we get from the city. And we are actively working with them to get those dates dialed in so that we can advertise and have our pre-bid walkthroughs for those projects. In our upcoming meetings, next week, we'll have our series of BLAC meetings, starting off with Reiche at 5:30. Presumpscot at 6:30 and Longfellow at 7:30. And then there will be a school board meeting on May 4th. and essentially, depending on how the Longfellow bid results are, if it's under budget and we're ready to sign the contract, we'll essentially take the low bid contractor and recommend that to the board for approval. If we do need to enter some value engineering, then there'll be a workshop that we'll have to go through around value engineering. The next DABC meeting will be on May 20th. And hopefully we'll have more updates at that time. If anything changes between now and then, we'll continue to keep the lines of communication open.
And so that, yeah.
From anybody? And also, I neglected, I think I did it before we went live. Jess Marino did let me know that she was not going to be able to make it this evening. So, any questions before we conclude? Great. All right. Seeing none. That was a quick, nice, short, sweet meeting, which we don't get very much these days. But thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mark and Lisa and Emily. And if you have any questions, please feel free to send them to the superintendent and myself and Mark Dion, my co-chair. Thank you all. Have a good night.